Hello everyone, I hope that you are well and thank you very much for watching. Today I have a very special review video for fragrance lovers of the new Kilian fragrances Apple Brandy on the Rocks and Verte. These fragrances have been released on the 1st of September 2021, so they are very new and exciting. These fragrances are part of Kilian's The Liqueurs collection, which already has two other fragrances released in 2020 called Angel Share and Roses on Ice. The two new fragrances come in the same beautiful cognac glass bottles as the previous releases, and I must say that I really like the look of these bottles. Apple Brandy on the Rocks is marketed as an aromatic fruity fragrance for women and men. Top notes of this fragrance are cardamom, pineapple and bergamot. Middle notes are vanilla, rum and moss. Base notes are ambroxan and cedar. As with the original Apple Brandy fragrance, apple is not one of the notes in the fragrance composition, but it is achieved through mixing other notes in the fragrance. The opening of this fragrance is beautiful, fresh and bright thanks to those bergamot and pineapple notes. As the fragrance dries down, it becomes sweeter and that freshness quickly fades away. The dry down of this fragrance is very woody and ambroxan heavy. Apple Brandy on the Rocks is similar to the original Apple Brandy by Kilian, but the new version is much brighter, lighter, fresher and juicier. The original Apple Brandy is more heavy and more suitable for evening wear and colder weather, while Apple Brandy on the Rocks could be worn at any season and any occasion. Apple Brandy on the Rocks also has a similar vibe to Angel Share, which is a previous release of the same Liqueurs collection by Kilian. Both of these fragrances have that imaginary apple accord, woody dry down and booziness. Both of these fragrances are very cozy, warm and project very well, so they both would get you compliments. These fragrances do not smell the same, but they do have the same vibe as I mentioned before. I would also say that Apple Brandy on the Rocks is mostly unisex, but it does lean a little more masculine in the dry down. However, if you are a female who likes strong woody fragrances, you might really enjoy this fragrance and it might be right up your alley. Verte, which means happy hour in French, is marketed as a woody aromatic fragrance for women and men. Top note of this fragrance is absinthe. Middle notes are licorice and violet leaf. Base notes are vetiver, patchouli, sandalwood and woody notes. Verte opens up with a green note and anise. And in case you did not know, anise is an essential herb used in the preparation of absinthe. The green anise note is then followed by licorice and violet leaves. The fragrance dries down to mostly earthy patchouli and vetiver. If you do not like anise notes in your fragrances, you're gonna absolutely hate this fragrance because anise is very strong, especially in the initial stages of this fragrance. I would say that Verte is quite bitter and slightly sweet at the same time. This fragrance is very unique and I cannot compare it to any other fragrance that I have smelled before. Verte is also completely different to Apple Brandy on the Rocks. It is much more complex, unique and daring. Verte is definitely more masculine in my opinion, and it is much more mature. I would say that Verte would be a good fragrance for a man in his late 30s and upwards. I would recommend this fragrance for a man who wears formal attire and likes unique fragrances. This is a fragrance for a true gentleman who likes to dress up and command attention. I believe that both of these new fragrances are more suitable for autumn and winter weather, but can easily be worn all year around by adjusting the number of sprays according to the weather. While both of these fragrances are masculine leaning, Verte is much more masculine and much more mature than Apple Brandy on the Rocks. If you are a female and you want to try one of these fragrances, I would recommend Apple Brandy on the Rocks. And if you are a man and you want to try one of these fragrances only, I would recommend Verte. I also believe that these fragrances are not safe blind buys, and I would recommend testing these fragrances before buying them because I believe that they will not be everyone's cup of tea. I would also suggest testing these fragrances on your skin and making your final decision about investing in these fragrances after they have fully dried down. Especially when it comes to apple brandy on the rocks, the initial stage of this fragrance is very different to its dry down. So I believe that you should really test these fragrances and decide whether you like both the initial stages and the dry downs of these fragrances before deciding to purchase them. Both of these fragrances have a moderate projection and moderate longevity. However, I think if you do go ahead and overspray these fragrances, you could even get them to last on your skin for upwards to 12 hours. I would say that in the whole liqueurs collection, the best performing fragrance would definitely be Angel Share, and the worst performing fragrance would be Roses on Ice. These two new fragrances fall somewhere in between. I personally will not be buying any of these fragrances and stick with my Angel Share because these fragrances feel just a little bit too masculine and maybe a little bit too strong for my liking. I do not find them particularly appealing for my own personal taste. However, I think that if you're a man with a sophisticated taste, I would probably recommend Verte. That is all I had to say about the new liqueur fragrances by Kilian. Please like, comment and subscribe, and if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them in the comments section down below. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.